Athletes are always looking for a way to improve their performance. But how do we know for sure that the strategy works? In sport nutrition science, we continuously question and test these strategies. This process is called the empirical cycle. In this video, you will learn what this is and how it works in sport nutrition sciences. I will illustrate the cycle with our own research on protein intake and endurance training. Here you see the empirical cycle. It's a cyclic process, which starts with the observation of a problem or a topic we are interested in. The first step is to gather all the information available about this topic and to identify the gaps. In sport nutrition science, input from those active in the field, so athletes, coaches, dietitians and physicians, is very important. What are their questions? What do they observe? This ensures that us, scientists, ask the right questions. When we have identified the knowledge gaps, we formulate questions that can help fill the gaps. Additionally, hypotheses are formulated to explain the phenomenon. This step is called induction and leaves us with the research question or objective and its hypothesized outcome. As an example, in our research, we already knew that immediate post-exercise protein ingestion and extra protein ingestion before sleep optimized the response to resistance exercise. But we questioned whether giving additional protein would also enhance the response to endurance training in athletes following a structured endurance exercise training program. Our hypothesis was that maximal endurance capacity would improve more when additional protein drinks were provided. Back to the empirical cycle. The next step is deduction. Here we design the experiments that will be used to test the hypothesis, to confirm it if true, or to refute it if false. In sports, performance is the ultimate goal. So we should carefully decide how to measure performance. Which are the important predictors of performance? If we were to simply measure strength, for example, how well does it predict performance? Maybe for a weightlifter it makes sense, but not for a sprinter. For the sprinter it would be better to measure speed. Back to our study. The athletes followed a 12-week training program with 3 intense training sessions per week. Half of the athletes received protein, the other half the control drink. Endurance capacity was measured as VO2 max, maximal oxygen consumption. This is a good predictor of endurance exercise performance. But it's a typical measurement used in a laboratory setting. So we also measured endurance exercise performance of our volunteers with a simulated 10-kilometer time trial on a bicycle ergometer, which comes closer to real sport performance. Back to the empirical cycle. The next step is to execute the experiments, to do the actual testing and collect the data. In general, this is done in a laboratory. An advantage of collecting data in a laboratory setting is that it can be done in a standardized and controlled way, which is important to allow drawing conclusions. The disadvantage is that the laboratory setting does not always reflect what's actually happening on the field. Once the data is collected, evaluation takes place. By interpretation of the data, we can answer our research questions. Do the results confirm the hypothesis? Or if not, do we have to reject the hypothesis? Both results are an important outcome of research. If yes, we can update our theory or knowledge about the phenomenon, so we now know better how, for example, nutrition works or whether a certain food improves power. If not, we have to formulate new ideas or adapt our theory, and the empirical cycle will run again. In sports, evaluation also means that we have to see what we have learned from science can be implemented in practice. What is needed to do so and what barriers stand in the way. A final time back to our experiment. We observed that the increase in VO2 max with the training was stronger in the protein athletes than in the other group. Performance during the time trial was also improved upon training, However, the difference between the protein and the placebo group was very small, too small to be significant. So we concluded that additional protein did work as we hypothesized, but at the same time we have some new questions we would like to test. So we have to enter the empirical cycle again. In this video, I introduce you to the empirical cycle, the process used in science to expand our knowledge and answer questions via testing of hypotheses. The cycle consists of 5 stages: observation, induction, deduction, testing, and evaluation. In sport nutrition science, it's very important to choose the right predictors or measures of performance. And last but not least, we never conduct our research in isolation. We need people like you to raise questions we can investigate and implement scientific findings in practice.